right, welcome to Shop Talks. Good morning. Shop Talks is a function of the Ink Kitchen and Impressions Magazine, and these very generous sponsors. Have Michelle Moxley Hruby here. She's got a series, Welcome to Farenheit AI. It's just a collaboration with the Ink Kitchen, sponsored by M&R and Stalls. And we're going to talk a little bit about basics of artificial intelligence, which is not the future, it is now. And so take it away, Michelle. So the presentation, we'll have some time for questions, and then Michelle will hang around afterwards for shy people to ask questions. Take it away, Michelle.
Good morning. So Farenheit AI is on the Ink Kitchen YouTube channel. At the end of this presentation, there'll be a QR code and you can scan it, and I encourage you to like and subscribe. Last year, we introduced artwork here through Midjourney, and that was pretty exciting. And this has been a full year of development in the space. So this is kind of a review of what Farenheit has been about so far. So you can deep dive into a lot of these topics if you go back and watch the episodes. We try to use real life projects, so things that would actually apply to your businesses, and we give everything away because the one thing that is concerning with AI is privacy and data rights. So I encourage you to explore the space and be ahead of it, but be careful. On the left, so on the left is the Ink Kitchen logo. There's an online AI, generative AI called Krea, K-R-E-A, and you can feed it your logo, and then it will generate, based on a prompt, an image for that. So that's the Ink Kitchen logo as an AI. It kind of made it into a computer. The one on the right was done by Dolly, and that's an aspect of ChatGPT, and that was fed this presentation and Farenheit premise, and it generated that image. So it's kind of an AI podcast image. This is too far away for me to read. Artificial intelligence leverages computer and machine to mimic the way the human mind works. So that's basically what's being built, is over time trying to get to something that thinks like a human. And right now I would say that it's much like a toddler. You have to feed it really small bits of data.
Or a human on beer. Or a human on beer.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it is. It's like a drunk human. But you have to feed it really small bits of information. If you try to ask an AI to do everything, it's going to get stuck and get confused, much like a human. But if you have it do small incremental steps, it actually does really well, and it starts to learn from itself and learn from you and get faster. So there are 3 different types of artificial intelligence. There is the kind that will assist us, the kind that will replace us, and the kind that will do things that we could never do without it. And Farenheit looks at all 3 of those pretty consistently, but we are encouraging you to look at the one that assists you and not replaces you. So on the left is my headshot through AI. So this was one of those generic services. It cost about $15. I had to send it 30 pictures of myself. It gave back 30 pictures, and one of them sort of looked like me. But I've since learned how to do this on my own, and I can be more accurate than those services. So you can see how like AI can be generic like anything else, and it can also be targeted and specific. On the right, one of the easiest places to start is marketing. So a headshot and a LinkedIn post. That post was generated by Replit online. I fed it one of the Farenheit episodes, and it generated a call to action, how many likes it had, what it was about. It gave a link to the post, and now it posts it to LinkedIn on its own too. So you can start to see that you can have an AI marketing department. So a large language model, they're very large deep learning models that are pre-trained on vast amounts of data, so like ChatGPT. And that's what's being used to create that LinkedIn post. And also, this is a blog post from a video. So this one's actually really cool. It's called Video to Blog. It's free. You take a video that you generated, you put it into this agent, and it generates a blog that reviews the video and explains step by step and sections it all out. It reads well, it makes sense, it's clear, and it's free. These are the kind of AI agents that you can incorporate really quickly and really easily to start out. These are the marketing tools that I've just described. So Replit did the LinkedIn post, Video to Blog. GPT-4 is how a lot of them are being built. So that's ChatGPT. So they're the drivers behind things like Video to Blog or Replit. And then on the right, the two that you could also use for marketing, Refusion will sing anything that you type. So if you type a line in there, it'll sing a song. The example in Farenheit was someone telling their partner they wanted a divorce. That was weird.
So is this going to be one of the, like, see people taking notes, is this going to be up though on?
Yeah, this will be episode 10. So if you log in and you subscribe, you can get all these links and it'll all be on the YouTube
free
channel.
subscription, by the way.
Yeah. And then the last one on the bottom right corner is Kyber, and that one's not free. You have to subscribe, but it does animation, and it does have a free trial, and you can put your logo in there, and it'll create little things that you could put up on social media that are moving, and it's free. And you also prompt it, so you put your logo in and you say, I want it to look like a flower, and it'll change into a flower. And it does a really good job with animation. I was impressed. I went to school for animation, and I was impressed. So on the left, on the January 8th, LG released this little guy. So this is like Alexa or Siri or one of the home Google in your house, but that one walks around or rolls around your house. It can read your emotions. So if you come home from a bad day, it will change the environment of your home to something to make you feel better. It can be a nanny cam for your dog. It can answer questions like Alexa, give you the weather, play radio, be an alarm clock. It's a little creepy. The one on the right.
More than a little, I would say. But yeah.
But that's released this year. The one on the right is Amazon Fulfillment, using AI and fulfillment. That's a really important place. It's not a great place to get started, but it's an important place to integrate AI because it can streamline your operation. So one of the places that I started was in art, generative AI last year. There's a lot of tools, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion. This is Midjourney created. These are illusions. Illusions are a really great place to learn because they force you to use the software outside of its normal application. Now, having said that, last week, Krea, K-R-E-A, released an illusion tab. So now you just put your picture in and tell it what you want the illusion to be, and it takes the steps for you. If you go back to the basics like Midjourney to create an illusion, you'll learn how to prompt better. You'll learn how to interact with the AI better. So the one on the left is my dog, Gus. He was a Tibetan Terrier, and he was really hard to train, and he was an evil mastermind. And the one on the right is my dog, Pearl, and she's a golden doodle, and she's a princess. And you can see from far away, they look like dogs. This takes creating a black and white generated image of what you want, the Tibetan Terrier or the golden doodle, and then re-prompting it into the evil mastermind or the princess, and you get an illusion. This is hard to do as an artist. This is a lot of work. So this is a really good space for t-shirt design for AI-generated artwork, in my opinion. Another place after that we looked at was generating text. A lot of them aren't great at generating text. Midjourney just introduced it. I think the best one that I've used so far is called Ideogram, and that one is free. You get maybe 25 generations a day, and then you have to go back the next day. But I just put in the midnight buzz as a neon sign, and it gave me that. I did have to do a little bit of cleanup in Photoshop, but the generation in Photoshop just lets you select things and remove them. So any mistakes that the AI makes, it cleans up instantly. And then all of the band members, they wanted themselves to be caricatures of bees. So that was done in Midjourney. So this is that pain in the ass art where you only have to make 12 pieces, and it's really hyper specific to the customer, and it's perfect for AI.
kind of file does it export?
So Midjourney has a tool that you can link to called Trace Journey that it lets you enhance everything, and then I think it gives you PNGs. I use Let's Enhance, and I get PNGs out of that. Ideogram, I think, gives you PNGs, but they're not necessarily big enough to print, so you do have to use an AI to enhance them and add pixels. This is probably one of the most effective uses, and also, in my opinion, one where I felt like I was stealing the most. So there was a Muddy Waters album, and it said Muddy Waters Blues, and it's that font and it's that layout. I took it into Illustrator and used Illustrator Retype. It identifies the font, it replaces the font with live editable font, and it changes the background into a raster image, and it generates the missing pieces. It's a really cool tool, but it's definitely a rip-off and duplicate tool. And we use this for DTF. Yeah. So one of the challenges of generative AI is that it can just spit things out and they all kind of look the same and it starts to be recognizable. When you get control of it is when it starts to be a tool that enhances what you can do. So across the top, you see a wireframe in the middle, and across the bottom, you see like a grayscale image in the middle. What that's doing is a control of the original image on the left to generate the new image on the right. So the wireframe is the girl. It looked at the girl, saw how she was standing, and then was prompted to make an astronaut. It looked at the warrior, saw the contour, and was prompted to make whatever that blue guy is. And that is one way that you can actually control an image to be exactly what you want it to be. This is where I used that. So on the left, that black tree is their original logo, and it was 50 years that they had that logo, and they wanted to enhance it. So I used Stable Diffusion, and I fed Stable Diffusion this company's mission statement, and it generated that background image of the organic farm with the apples and all the vegetables and the fruit. Those were the things that they grow. And then,
not too bad their mission statement was out of date, right?
Yeah, their mission statement happened to be out of date because when I showed them this, they said that we don't grow those things. And then for the tree, I used Stable Diffusion again, but I used those controls that were found here so that I could actually generate a tree that matched that 50-year-old logo and looked actually like the tree in their field. And I was really proud, and I was like, this is cool. And they said it looked super AI generated. And I was really disappointed. And I learned from that, and I said, okay, I can be better than that. I didn't AI generate the text, but the rest of it was from their data. But the ways that you can be better, and the way that I do recommend to get started, are tools like this. So Stable Diffusion and Midjourney are kind of your basic AI tools, and you learn them, you learn how to prompt with them. But if you are an artist, being able to draw and integrate the things that you're used to is where it gets really cool. So this is called Krita, Krita. I drew the rose on the left with my finger on the pad on my laptop, and it live draws on the right with me to maintain my style and enhances it. So it's a way to not only speed yourself up or explore a space or trace a logo, you can also pull in images that you've generated and select areas to replace, and it will generate live tracing. There's different control tools inside of the AI that you can use, like the contour or the mapping. That is where I would start today versus a year ago. You do have to learn prompting, you do have to learn how to talk to it, but this is much more consistent with the artist that I was before AI existed. So these are the tools that I used, and again, there will be a live episode that you can get the links to. Photoshop has a good generation. The Adobe Illustrator Retype, I love. Dolly is inside chat. Krita is the one where you can do the illusions really easily. Ideogram does text. Midjourney and Stable Diffusion are kind of the old standards, and Krita was that live drawing one. And Krita and Krita, they both do live drawing, so it doesn't matter that they sound the same. So having said all that, Billy Strings did New Year's shirts for a show, and he got beat up on Instagram for it being AI generated art. So he went to the artist and he asked him if it was. The artist said it was not, and that he had original sketches and he didn't produce them. So Billy Strings went back online and he was like, look, and he apologized to the fan base. I won't ever do that again. Funny thing is, I've worked with industry partners that I've used AI with, that Billy Strings would interact with. This is going to continue to happen as we move forward. Whether or not this artist actually drew those is still in question. The fact that he has to defend it is a new thing. So you have to have proof that you really generated this stuff, because he could be lying. This fan base felt offended, like he was taking art away from real artists, which a lot of us think. But if you're only using it as a tool to help you enhance like this, is that the same thing? So I think that it's starting to split. So you're gonna have like that, I wrote a prompt and something came out, and you're gonna have stuff like this. And this is going to be more widely accepted. This is going to be more, everybody's tool is getting enhanced, versus this poor artist that I have no idea. So there's the QR code for the Farenheit episodes. There's 7 episodes posted on the In Kitchen that go through mostly art. If you come back at 2 o'clock, we're going to talk about autonomous agents and AI agents and what that means for your business. These are things that you can build to generate data or post things online or read through data, and they do it autonomously. So it's like having an employee that isn't a real employee. But if I was getting started, I would recommend marketing and art. But decide if you're going to do prompted art, generic pain in the ass stuff, or if you're going to do the more illustrative kind of tools like Krita. The pain in the ass art is really good. Justin Lawrence said that somebody came in and asked for a polar plunge t-shirt, and they wanted 12 pieces with polar bears sitting in a hot tub drinking hot cocoa. Like, that's AI, because like, who wants to do that? But that's the pain in the ass art. Otherwise, it's going to start to look like that looks super AI generated. And I was like, oh, I worked really hard on that. But I didn't, because I didn't hand draw it. So it's different. But I was proud of it. But then when they said they didn't like it, I didn't really care, because I didn't make it. It's a weird thing.
We didn't even get to the sinister stuff, huh?
No, the sinister stuff, when you watch the early episodes, there's a lot of generative stuff that is very sinister. And it still comes up, but I think that I've learned how to talk to it, that most of the creepiness went away. When you first get into AI generation on like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion, you get a lot of weird stuff, especially because you don't know how to prompt it, and what it gives back is kind of scary.
Some of it is really hard to, so we worked on something together, and if I described it to you, it had a rainbow and it was woodcut. Doesn't that sound nice? No, it was creepy and sinister. There was like, I think people, like, even if they gather from a lot of sources, like, I'm not going there.
Well,
and the AI thing just...
It's built off the
life
internet.
is sinister, so it takes it all in.
Yeah, it's built off the internet, and in my opinion, the internet is a dumpster fire, so it's going to be creepy.
All right, any creepy or non-creepy questions out there? Yeah? You ready for questions?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Who has a question? We have a mic. If you don't have a question, then we'll have a presentation that you give next year.
The thing that our shop has struggled with, and we've primarily used DALL-E through GPT-4, is that any art prompts that we put in, it's generating these big, things that use 100 different colors, which can be nice for GFT. We struggled to have it reproduce art that the college soccer team wants, that sort of thing. A 2 or 3 color print that perhaps even we could screen print. Any recommendations for prompts on how do we go from the 1,000 color painting to the 2 or 3 color screen print?
So one thing that Rick just mentioned is talk about lino cuts and wood cuts and simple printing techniques in your prompting, and that will help simplify your color. Signify how many colors you want it to generate. Dolly's not the best at that. Dolly's gotten really good because it's incorporated into chat, so it can see things, so you can have a conversation with it. One thing that I'll do is generate in Dolly and then give it to Midjourney and then say, like, simplify. Because Dolly will give me really good images that I like, but they're way too colorful, they're way too complicated, and it doesn't know how to simplify as well. It does okay. Like, I've learned in Dolly I can make slides to an animation and things like that, but use terms that signify simple printing. You can't use screen printing terms so much because it's not that great at that, but like simple like offset printing terms or like lino cuts or wood cuts or potato prints, things like that. And then also do black and white and then color it yourself is a lot easier. I do a lot of that. And this kind of thing, because when you're drawing, it'll do black and white and then you can pull it out of here and colorize it yourself. This is Krita, and this is cool because once it's drawn that, and like, I can choose how much AI it's using and how much of my drawing it's using by changing the slider, and then it starts adding color and all of this other stuff. But once I like it, I push a button and it comes over to the drawing board, and then I can do it again and just keep adding to it. Or I can take something in from Dolly into here and then simplify it into that AI by the prompt. So basically you're just layering AI. Now the challenge is if you use like Midjourney, you got to pay a subscription on top of your chat subscription on top of, that's why like Krita is free. And if you follow Farenheit, I try to use free as much as possible or show you where free is working. I do have a Midjourney subscription, but I keep canceling it and restarting it and canceling it. But I keep chat for Dolly and for the chat GPT. But I try to use Stable Diffusion. I use Stable Diffusion through a GPU online because I run a Mac and it hates my Mac. And I show you how to do that in Farenheit. And then you can run programs like this as your face program, and Stable Diffusion's running in the background. Stable Diffusion has way more controls in it than Midjourney.
That was a good question. That was the customer's objection to the Hutchins farm, that it was like too complicated, too many colors. Other questions?
Hey, which one have you found is the best at like upping the resolution on terrible photos?
So Photoshop's been trying to add a bunch of tools into their neural filters to do that, and I would recommend playing with those because they keep updating them constantly. They have some color correction stuff. I've been using let'senhance.io for my upscaling because it has a lot of adjustment tools in it. The camera raw stuff is really good that you can use to enhance things if it's like a bad artwork that someone gave you. But if it's like...
Oh, really? People give us bad art?
But that's what's cool too. You could put bad art in here with these controls and then have it recognize like the key parts and then generate something that looks good. That's why I hung up the rose, because that rose like looks terrible. I drew that with my finger. That's like the bad art. But the one on the right's not bad. But yeah, I use let'senhance.io. That one's a subscription. There are some free ones. There's Trace Journey. There's a lot of options. That's why I recommend following Farenheit, because there's so much stuff coming out so fast, and I'm trying to test through things and be like, this one does this, which is cool.
All right. Other questions?
So, is there anything yet on like media automation in terms of like plugins? So people who want to run like social media ads and just have the AI kind of do the hard work for them?
Yes. So if you come back at 2:00, that's what that next presentation is going to be about. But basically, they're autonomous agents. You build them and you give them tasks. And I think that the future of AI this year is going to be all about autonomous agents. You can incorporate them a little bit into art, but marketing, where I recommend you get started, it does social media posting. If you imagine doing part of your social media posting with AI and part of it as a human, you get twice the output. You get an AI that's actually looking out and seeing what's relevant to post against, and then you're adding the personal touch as a human and making posts. It's the best of both worlds. It's keeping you relevant, it's keeping you up to date, and because it's posting for you, it's teaching you things that you didn't realize or weren't aware of. So when I read these posts that it generates for LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't even know that was in the episode.
Other questions?
Should watch that again.
That was a good question. Thank you. Other questions?
Do you guys have recommendations for prompting? Like, where do you start? And I imagine each tool is different, but is it kind of just a trial and error thing of try typing this into Midjourney, or is this something that you've covered in Farenheit of how do you get to, what are best practices for prompting?
So what I do on Farenheit is whenever an artwork is generated, I try to put the prompt at the bottom so you can read it. What I've learned over the last year, be polite. If you say thank you and please and you're nice to it, it does a better job. I don't know why. I read that in an article. I was like, that sounds insane. But if you do, it does. It keeps up. It doesn't get as lost as easily. The other thing is,
What if you swear at it? What happens?
yeah, I don't really want to, because there is that scary aspect of like, what am I teaching this thing? It is a little bit like a toddler, so you're giving it spoon feeding. Like, try if you prompt it and it's like way out there, like shorten your prompts, be more specific, try to baby step yourself up. The other thing is like, generative AI, one of the challenges is that it's stealing, and that's where a lot of people kind of back away. There are tools like Firefly, Brandon and I were talking about it, where it's more protected and it's not necessarily stealing, but it's not necessarily as good. So what I can recommend for learning how to prompt is to steal. Go on these AI-generated sites, find images that you like, steal their prompts, but read them. When you generate, reprompt and delete some words so that you can start to see. I think a lot of the prompting is way too long, and what I've learned over the last year is you really don't need to put that much in there. And also consider that they're evolving, the new models, they're training, they're getting smarter, so they're trying to target less prompting specifics. The whole next generation of AI is all about natural language talking and unstructured data, so you should be able to say whatever you want. If you're not getting what you want, you're probably being too complex, and just be more polite.
So is it better to be long prompts that you then shorten, or better to start with short ones and add?
If you're learning, like I said, one of the places that taught me how to prompt the most was the illusions. When you do the illusions inside of Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, you have to like learn how to prompt because this weird stuff comes out and you're trying to build them. And there's a whole episode about this. It's episode 2. And that drove me to shorter and shorter prompts. But they were very specific to get it to work. If you start out with really long prompt, I think that people prompt really long and they get these beautiful images, but you could probably take 80% of that out. So to answer your question, if it's working, it's working. But I think shorter is probably better.
I guess it depends what you're doing. We had a talk by Alex Spurrier last year, and when he was trying to do a dog-based label for a beer thing, it was pretty easy, and he tried to do an armadillo and came up with crazy, awful stuff.
Less data, yeah, armadillo. But it's weird though, because sometimes when something is really specific, like an armadillo, it does a good job because there's not a lot of cross-contamination of data, but dogs are easy.
Maybe your dog does. Other questions? All right, Michelle, here we go. Yeah, please. These have been really good questions. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Boris.
Hi, Boris.
Hello. I wanted to ask about the farm logo you did, about the text. You did it, you generated, or it is?
Boris said about the farm logo, the text. So this was not AI generated text, but I did look across a bunch of farm companies and websites, and I looked across like farming t-shirt styles, and I did use Retype tool to identify fonts. So you take all these screen captures off the internet that you like you would if you were compiling a data set to make a design, put them all in Illustrator, turn on Retype, and just start identifying fonts. And then you have a font library that you can choose from that matches farming. That's how I did that.
Good question. Thanks. Other questions?
For image upscaling, you mentioned let'senhance.io. If we have a mid-size PNG that's been rendered out from something like DALL-E, and we want to vectorize, or we just want to enhance its overall size, are there any quick, easy, cheap tools we can dump that file into just to get a higher resolution file? Or
You have
vector?
Illustrator?
Yep.
Yeah, Illustrator upped their game with their
Image trace?
Image trace. Yeah, check it out. It's
Okay.
way better. That
we moved away from that because it
It's
had
pretty
always just
recent,
been messy.
right?
yeah, they did it with the AI generation upscale. Where's the text?
And is that
So
under the
that
image trace tool?
glow, that midnight buzz was generated in ideogram, and that's a live trace in Illustrator.
Oh, okay.
And they also added a tool where you can do mock-ups now, where you can live trace it. It looks just like the PNG, and then you can put a product in like a tumbler cup, and then you select the live trace vector image and the cup, and you say mock-up, and it wraps it and gives you all the gradient and everything immediately.
You could do that yourself.
Maybe that
easily, though,
subscription's
right?
finally worth it.
No, I know. I mean,
no,
they
I'm kidding.
Well, I can, but I thought it was cool because they just made it a button, and they have all these products that you can pick from, but you have to pay for them. But you can bring your own products in, and it can still see them. Illustrator's generative AI tools are good. Photoshop, it's okay. It'll fix things, but I wouldn't ask Photoshop to generate things because most of them are kind of creepy.
All right. Any other questions? All right. How about a hand for Michelle?